Yo, 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 yo.
Yup.
We are back. Welcome back to the Famously Average Podcast. You're here with JB and JR. JR is suited up. I missed the memo.
You ain't get that memo?
I ain't get the memo about the suit. I do got DoMode on, so I'm Gucci either way. But what's good, JR? What's good this week, man?
Yo, man, this week was a busy week, man.
Busy week. Were you in DoMode this week?
Of course I was in
Were
DoMode.
we winning this week?
Of course. That's the only way we all could win if we stay in DoMode.
That's
You know
what
that.
I like to hear, man.
So, we're just building off this event that we had April 1st, Let's All Win event this week.
Yep.
So, I want to say thank you, to everybody that came out, and it definitely helped boost, the brand and the business and the spirit of what we're trying to pursue. And, so I'm just following up on that. It's been a busy week for your boy. I've been at it, maybe 20-something days
What's
straight.
this suit about, bro?
So today I had two big meetings. One with just business, man. just trying to close these deals. So what we do is we try to partner up with different nonprofit organizations and try to get different people in the community to go through these programs to get them into their first properties. So I had a pretty big meeting with one of them today, and what we talked about was April 22nd. The People's Bank is actually going to be hosting a home in a day program where you can go in, sit down for a couple hours, speak to an actual consultant, and they'll put you on the path to becoming a homeowner. So
In a day.
So you're gonna leave at least with a picture or a pathway of what you can do. What you can afford, or what you can't afford, and also it'll put you on the path to where you want to be. So if you need work on your credit, if you need down payment assistance, they'll put you in that right path. So today I spent all day handling that. And it was an eventful day, man. It was real good, real productive.
Well, you're looking real dapper, I must say, man.
Appreciate that, my boy.
And looking like you about to step into the casket with that suit, man. You got the fresh to death.
Man.
You got the cut.
Couldn't let our guest today outdo me, man.
Yeah. We do have a guest, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to get to him in the next segment. First, we wanted to say God bless the dead, Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy, man, if you don't know him or have seen his Dave Chappelle skits, you have missed out. Go Google it, go YouTube it, do something, because those shits are funny, man. Charlie Murphy.
Underrated?
Charlie Murphy. I mean, when your brother's Eddie Murphy.
It's tough. That's a tough
it's
pull.
tough to come up from that shadow.
That's a tough pull.
But nonetheless, I think Charlie Murphy definitely solidified himself as his own man. He was definitely no one thought of him as or at least in the circles that I run with, no one thought of him as like Eddie Murphy's brother. I thought of him as Charlie Murphy. Like, that nigga was funny to me.
What was your favorite Charlie Murphy role? What's your favorite memory of Charlie Murphy?
On Dave Chappelle, when he was doing the Rick James skits. Oh, my gosh. Charlie Murphy was killing me, man. That dude was killing me. And he was so funny. He played his role. He was just, he had his own type of comedy.
That was the beauty about it. We talk a lot about staying in your lane and being true to yourself and not jumping out the window. He played his part like a Don, waited his turn, waited his time, and made himself a boss, man.
I feel like he moved in his own way. He didn't ride the coattails of Eddie, or maybe he did, and I didn't know about it. But
listen, we're riding the coattails of Eddie. That's how big of a star Eddie Murphy is. You know what I'm saying?
Eddie Murphy is definitely one of the top 5. We had that conversation in one of our other podcasts. You should go check that out. But Charlie Murphy, rest in peace, man. I think he passed away of leukemia. I didn't even know about that.
Didn't even know, man.
Not like he was gonna shoot me an email or nothing. But Charlie Murphy, man, definitely one of the funny guys in comedy and that Dave Chappelle skit. I'll never forget those.
Never that, man. Or his role in CB4. When he played Gusto.
Yes.
That's my favorite Charlie Murphy role, man. Gusto and CB4, man.
Yes.
That brother.
He's got a lot of underrated roles, man. And if you haven't, I don't think he's got enough credit, but obviously when someone passed away, people tend to eulogize them.
Social media will give him his credit.
They'll
give
him
today.
his credit. I see a lot of memes, people that never probably even seen a skit still, offering their condolences, which is cool. If I go out and you don't know me, throw up a meme.
Charlie Murphy. Long live your memory, my boy. What about you, man? What's going on this week?
This week, G over there.
G Money, we see you, baby.
This week, we out here, man. I updated the site, as I told you we're going to be doing. We keep updating #DoMode.com. If you haven't been on it, please go on it. Peruse. We dropped a new interview, which got some love on there. And with that, it it brings in a new crowd, new eyes, people who don't necessarily care about the other motivational, inspirational type of stuff. They came in and they learned more about what it takes to be a rapper and the plight of a rapper. And then we also got one of what it takes to be a barber. It's called Chasing Your Passion interviews, and we're gonna be doing one once a month with the new category. So we got the next one in the works right now, and so
let me ask you this: running the site,
yeah.
Do you notice a tick or a growth in traffic depending on the person that you bring?
Of course, different people have different circles. And I might not be a part of that circle, and #DoMode might not be a part of that circle. But when the angle that #DoMode comes in is we want to know how you got to where you are, not some generic, one-liner or elevator speech type stuff. We want to know how you got there step by step and the obstacles that you face. And because I think that people definitely want to, there's a whole bunch of people who want to be rappers, a whole bunch of people want to be barbers.
Yep.
And for all the other professions that we're going to cover, there's going to be a bunch of people that want to do the same thing, and they're stuck. They don't know where to go. They might not have a network of people to draw from. So instead of just guest testing and revising, you can come to #DoMode and you can learn how to do it right then and there for someone who's actually doing it, actually done what you say you want to do.
I think that's a great segue to introduce our guest this week.
Yeah, man. This is my boy, your boy, everybody's boy.
What's going on, fellas? Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Aaron Turner. Clap it up for Aaron
The one
Turner,
and only
man.
AT.
The one and only AT. Introduce yourself, man.
AT, they call me. That's what they call me.
That's what they call me.
My name is Aaron Turner, born and raised in the city of Bridgeport, second generation.
Woo.
Shout out to the Slocums and the Joneses of PT. That's where I derive.
That's my second family, man. Shout out to them.
You know what I'm saying? So again, I appreciate you guys having me. JR, that was a good look last week with the event. Let's all win the space tournament.
Appreciate that.
And having the tables out for home ownership and credit repair. It's a good look, especially for a generation like ours. And Bird, man, you've been doing this in your DoMode.
I've been in DoMode for a while.
By my count, at least 3 years.
Yeah, I mean,
going hard body with it.
I've been in DoMode longer than that.
You just figured it out.
I just figured out what to call it.
I mean, with the book, The Toughest Two, and then #DoMode, and taking that with the shirts and the website and the whole concept of what you're doing, man. Big things. That's what we need to do, especially as young black men in our age bracket.
Oh yeah. It's a lot coming up from where we came from, trying to figure it out again, like we've been saying, and we've been lucky enough to have like-minded individuals around us where we can bounce ideas off each other and nobody's jumping out the window with nothing crazy, you know what I mean? Like we've all generally liked the same things. We've all generally been into the same things. And but what I think is unique about the friendship that we all have is that we all are into something different for our profession. And with Aaron here, he is into the political realm. And just talk about what it is that you do first and how you got into it.
So I work up at the state capitol in Hartford. I work for a state senator, Ed Gomes, out of Bridgeport, Stratford. So he represents, let's say, 70% of Bridgeport, about 30% of Stratford. I got into that after college. I interned for Congressman Jim Himes, which he represents the 4th Congressional District here in Connecticut from Bridgeport to Greenwich. That led into campaign work in 2010, which then led into union organizing. Shouts to SEIU in 1199. New England out in Hartford, organizing healthcare workers. Then I just, organizing was cool, but I just felt I had to jump back into the political realm.
Oh, you a political organizer on some Barrio type stuff?
Hey, man, that's
just like my man Barrio.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Of course, President Obama was half black, half white, but, in old times, you get that 1/8, as they would term nigger blood in you, you black. So he definitely, set the precedent. That's an actual concrete person that folks like myself, all of us actually can look to when we want to strive for that. Particularly, there's a Jay-Z line. I was listening to Murder to Excellence as we came up here.
Same man.
Said, what up, Will? Shout out. I only see a few blacks, the higher I go. What up, Will? Shout out to O. So, I mean, in that rarefied space, there's, he named 2 other people outside of himself. So,
Wow.
We just striving to get there.
Let me touch on that for a little bit. You talked about Obama. Obama affected us all differently. I'll never forget the day Obama got elected. I'm sure nobody will. How did it affect you? I mean, did that play a role in your career? In 08, put yourself back in 07, 08 when you're first hearing about. When did you decide you want to be a politician, and how did Obama play a role in that?
I mean, I started out majoring in psychology in college, and then I switched over to political science, and I wouldn't say 06, 07. But, I didn't really know much about Obama prior to him being on TV a lot during his first presidential run. But again, it just made it possible, man. I mean, and then, taking it back, looking through his history of how he got started, just in straight up politics, how he got started. And it's like, okay, there is a path, there is a trajectory. I just have to do it in my own way.
Nice.
But he definitely, set the precedent.
That's amazing, man. I mean, Barry came through, man. I'll never forget the night he got elected, man. I mean,
crazy.
I think I don't know how you guys remember it, but I think everybody can remember when Barack Obama got elected and how we felt. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
man, 08 on the college campus, I'm standing outside in the quad in North Dormitory. Once the results were announced, there was crowds of people like walking all around campus. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I've never seen
in
that like in my
formation.
life.
It was crazy.
On campus, it was crazy. It was like I thought the second coming had happened, man, because people were out there joining arms, crying.
I'm not gonna
people
lie.
People were
to you, man.
emotional. They were moving.
I got a lump in my throat, Of course, driving home after the election, listening to it on the radio, and just just the energy that you felt. I mean, my whole time living, I never seen so many people organically and naturally draw themselves towards an individual.
Right.
I never felt emotionally connected.
When Obama got elected, it was a huge step in the right direction in terms of the closing the barrier between, or closing the gap between minorities and the majority. And with this second election that we got going on, I thought there was definitely going to be a situation where we might lose that, but we got him reelected and everything was gravy. And there's some blacks that are out there or minorities, I should say, that feel like Obama didn't do all the things he promised. But you got to realize you can't get it all done, especially when you have a situation like he had where the Republicans were definitely just there to block whatever he was trying to toss up.
Indeed. I mean, all politics are local. I mean, you really got to start from the ground up, from, your town committee, city council, state legislature, boom, boom, boom. So, the office of presidency, is the top job in the world, as we see it. So it's just different. So to take it back to your point about the positive energy that we saw from both Obama's presidential runs, we got to remember there's that flip side to it where that, there weren't folks who were thrilled or happy to see, someone like President Obama in office. And I think that played out with the most recent presidential election in terms of electing someone who had divisive rhetoric from the gate.
Right. People were tired. People were frustrated. They felt like their needs weren't being met or even heard. And so they went out and they voted against the top politician that was out there, and they got somebody who was never even in politics. And that leads us to our next question, what you think about our, I guess, current state that we're in.
Well, let me ask you one question before we get into that, because you were in the trenches. We all in prior podcasts we told stories of the day after Trump got elected,
right?
And you had a lot of closet Trump supporters. For you being in those trenches and you actually being there in the Capitol building, what was the feel and the environment like up there that day? That day you had to go to work the next day.
Right. I mean, leading up to it, there obviously, I know Republicans, senators, reps, their staff. I mean, there were definitely people who were for Trump, maybe not for his rhetoric, but just having a Republican in office.
Right.
The day after, I mean, there was a somber feeling amongst Democrats, but and a joyous feeling amongst Republicans, which you got to go to work,
Yeah.
We're not in Washington, so it's not that crazy headbutt at all times in terms of that, but we definitely feel it at the state level.
Yeah. And we're going now to fast forward into 100 days in. We're at that 100-day mark, which is a critical point for which we tend to measure a new president. And I see, I got my opinions on what's going on out here. And JR definitely got his opinions on what's going on out here.
Right.
But we want to know from your perspective, as someone who's into politics, what is your perspective on what's going on in the first 100 days of this new administration?
I mean, from my perspective, the first 100 days has been, straight disaster.
Elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, look, from the his nominations for these different cabinet posts, right? So for education, he picked Betsy DeVos from Michigan, billionaire. I think it was on record, at least during her confirmation hearings, that she had donated over $200 million over the years to the Republican Party.
Right.
Several senators asked
somebody
her
who doesn't
about
even,
that.
who hasn't probably even stepped foot.
Oh, she has no experience with traditional public schools, which is what the
All her
Secretary
kids
of
went to
Education
private schools.
should
She
have.
went to private schools, and now this lady is out here leading our educational system.
How does that happen, eh?
I mean, again,
Money? Is the money that powerful?
I mean, if you're donating $200 million,
Yeah, I better get a job, right?
and also you got to. So when I mention something like politics is local, right? So if she's from Michigan, that means she's heavy in the Republican Party in Michigan, right? So she's putting in a lot of resources into turning out Republican votes for Trump in the state of Michigan, right? I'm not sure if Michigan was a swing state, or if I would venture to say that he probably won Michigan and she would have something to do with that. And the fact, so if he wants to run for re-election, it's all about raising that bread, right? So, I'm not sure how much Trump raised, but over Obama's last two campaigns, and I believe Hillary, they were in excess of $70 million in terms of money raised,
Right.
to get out the vote on the ground. And in terms of being in the trenches, I mean, Connecticut's a blue state for the most part. I mean, there are pockets where it's, Republican majority districts, but I didn't really feel that here working in Bridgeport. I did some work there in Trumbull, which we Trumbull was mostly Republican, so we already knew how that was going to go. But it wasn't nasty or anything like that out there. We just was like, yeah, these are the projections based on the last election's numbers. This is how much votes they're going to get. It is what it is.
Living where we live, I feel like we tend to have we're oblivious to how other people are living in other states.
Yep.
Mainly the red states that have this need, this feel. Sometimes I feel like they just itching to get somebody out. They just don't want a Democrat, no matter who it is. It could be the best person in the world.
Right.
And they continuously vote against their interests, which blows my mind every time. But I don't know how people tend to, like for the healthcare, for instance, they call it Obamacare, which is not the real name for it, right?
No.
It was whoever came up with Obamacare was brilliant because
Great marketing.
for both ways though.
Yeah.
The reason why it's great marketing is because people who hear Obamacare who don't like Obama hate it,
Automatically
not realizing
hate the
that
legislation.
they
Yes.
might be on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not realizing that it helps them. They just hate it because it got the word Obama in there, and that.
Well,
You
Bert,
notice Trump not putting his name on any of this stuff.
So if I may, to elaborate more on the first 100 days, right?
Yeah.
So since, Republicans have the presidency, they have control of the Senate, they have control of the House, they should be pretty much able to get any piece of legislation that they want pushed through because they have the number of votes. So to your point about Obamacare, or as the real name is Affordable Care Act, they couldn't even get that done. I mean, it had been detrimental to all their constituencies.
There was no
across the
plan
nation.
in place.
No plan in place. They tried it. They realized they didn't have the votes, and that's when you see someone like the Speaker Paul Ryan come out and say, "Listen, we letting this one go. We don't have it right now." I mean, add to that, there was a question or concerns about his Supreme Court nominee.
Yep.
And that led to Democrats doing a filibuster for X amount of hours, and then they Republicans did what's known as a nuclear option, which basically means they changed the rules of the Senate.
What?
They
I never
changing
heard
the
this in my
rules
life.
out here.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's something called a nuclear action.
Option. I think that's what the media just termed it as.
Okay.
But it sets a bad precedent.
Yep.
So they changed the rules of the Senate so it would require them to have less votes to get their Supreme Court nominee pushed through. And then, his proposed budget, I mean, he makes massive cuts to things like Planned Parenthood, which, low-income communities, rely on, or cuts to arts and education, and these are the type of things that, maybe some students or children are not into, traditional like analytics or traditional subjects, right? And, having something like art, to kind of take their mind and think in abstract directions, to expand their minds about things, to help them become better students, better learners, actually.
Yeah.
It's just detrimental, especially to a community like Bridgeport, New Haven, Hartford. We already aren't funded from the state at the level that they need to be in order to provide full resources to the students. So it's just bad all around. I mean, he proposed to add more money to the military, right? And then you just see they go into the strike against Syria.
The
right?
bombing of an airfield that was back in action the next day.
So apparently they didn't do their job, or it was just alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
Right.
And be mindful of alternative facts because it's infiltrating our world left and right. You see Facebook posts, you see memes, you see Twitter posts with alternative facts that are out there lying to you. They're telling you that this fact or this statistic is out there for you, and that's completely wrong. And we live in a world now where that's okay, where the president can tweet out something that's completely bogus, not true, and they'll talk about it. It'll be a part of the news cycle for a while. Right. And then the next big thing will come and they'll forget about that. And if they don't forget about it, what I've noticed watching CNN, MSNBC, even I tune into Fox just to
I can't even trust them anymore. I'll be honest with you. I can't even trust CNN anymore. Like, as a kid, I used to watch CNN and
you don't know what's real and what's not.
You have to independently go and do your own research on everything now.
You got to fact check. And who's fact checking? You wake up, you go on Facebook, you go on Twitter or whatever your news, wherever you get your news. You just want to see the story, the headlines,
just
right?
Just selling news. They're literally just selling news.
So in terms of fact checking, what at least how I used to see it, what normally would happen after debates, presidential candidates, afterward they'll do a fact check. So whatever they say in the debate, they'll just say whether it's true or not. I mean, alternative facts, that's just crazy because it's just misinformation to the public, right?
Calling it alternative facts bothers me.
Yeah,
because you put a cute name on
justifying
it. You know what I mean? You're making it seem like it's less of a problem when you call it alternative facts, when really you just straight lying.
Straight up.
I mean?
Right. So you're in the field. So when you hear these things, do you watch CNN? Like, where do you get your facts from?
I mean,
or those guys, the guys up top in Capitol Hill. What I mean, I doubt. I don't know. Are you guys really just digging in legislation like that? Or
yeah. So I think at least at the state level, they have an office called Office of Legislative Research, and what they'll do is they'll look at other state statutes, kind of model it off that, peer-to-peer reviewed articles, and then just what they deem reliable news sources. So I mean, I did see a chart where they had a bunch of news outlets, whether they lean left, whether they lean right, whether they're moderate, so you can kind of know before you read that source what kind of information you're getting. And then I mean, again, there was something that Jay-Z said in 2013 when he did an interview.
I love that he's dropping Jay-Z quotes when he's talking about politics, man.
When he interviewed at the Breakfast Club and he was asked a question, it was like, well, how do you find beats right now? Like, because everything is, there's so much out there. Everybody can just deliver their content through YouTube. And he was just like, even though there's a lot of it, you just got a mind for it, right? You just really got to look and search. Yeah. So to about alternative facts, people just really gotta search it out. And
don't take things at face value that's put right in front of you. Things are put in front of you for a reason because they want you to click, and it's called clickbait. They just want you to come on there, get advertising, get your clicks equal dollars to those sites. So you see it with all the gossip sites. You see it with the big time news sites.
TMZ's a legit news source now. I never thought I'd live to see it.
People go to Shade Room. People go to
TMZ is like a legitimate news source. Like,
not just like they basketball wives or housewives of Atlanta news. They going for like what's going on with the presidency news.
Yeah,
and that's just shows you what turn we've taken now into. It's 2017. That's where we at now, I guess.
That's the stamp you got to kind of put on it, man.
It's 2017. Man. Alternative facts live in 2017.
Aaron, let me ask you this: did you guys see it coming?
The Trump thing?
The Trump wave. Did you guys actually see it coming?
I mean, I personally didn't. I mean, I know I spoke to several people, at least Democrats, that said they could kind of see it just because Hillary had so much baggage. And then, I mean, let's be frank, the Democratic National Committee kind of
did Bernie dirty.
Yeah, put the put the nomination
what
in her
happened
favor.
to Bernie? I thought Bernie had the shot.
He
Was it
had a
his
legitimate
age?
shot. I
feel like
mean,
people throw out his age as if Trump is super younger than him, but he's not.
No, I mean, I just think Hillary had better ends. I would say, right? Her husband happened to be was president for.
She was already
plugged
plugged
in.
in.
She was super plugged in. Not to say that Bernie wasn't, but as you mentioned different circles earlier, right? They're just moving in different circles. Right?
Yeah.
So
how important is it to build that network?
I mean, it's extremely important. I mean, especially for, that kind of seat or office where you got to raise a bunch of money. Now, Bernie raised his money through a lot of small donations from a lot of people, which made his campaign more organic, more grassroots.